This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking with Yana Gorskaya about what we do in the shadows. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Happy to be talking to you.
You've been with this show since the beginning, and even before that. Did you expect this wonderfully long and successful journey?
I absolutely did not. I got on board with Jermaine and Taika on the feature as a bit of a lark in my free time. They had this thing they were putting together. It sounded like a super amount of fun, and I had some downtime, and they came here actually to my studio, and we just kicked it around. And they had hundreds of hours of improv. They actually wrote a script but didn't show it to anybody. So it was a lot of play and shaping and super fun. And it was this kind of small thing we did to make ourselves laugh at the time. And I don't think any of us expected it to take off in quite the way that it did. But when they asked me to come on for the series, I was delighted because we had so much fun on the feature. And yes, I am an OG, what we do in the shadows. Yeah, over a
It's
decade.
also just it's just crazy to think also that the season one aired in 2019, and for a show to have six seasons in 6 or 7 years is pretty incredible these days, given strikes, pandemic, all this other stuff, and we still just have so many rich episodes, which is great.
Thank you. Yeah, we soldiered through in the cold Canadian nights.
Well, how would you say that, at least at the start, how is the show different from the film for you?
Well, it's scripted. That's probably the biggest difference. Although we do a lot of improv as well, so it still has that kind of loose feeling. But oh, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo on myself here. But anyway, it has the looseness, but not quite the level of looseness of the feature. It has an incredible writing team led by Paul Sims, and they write very, very solid scripts. And as a director, I'm tasked with kind of always getting the scripted because it's our safety net. It's great. And so even if we fail in our efforts at improv, we know we have a really good version and a version that's going to make sense, like through all the story beats. Yeah, so that's the primary difference. And a whole new cast, a whole new, I feel like that cast really made it their own and put their own flavor on it. It's not a Kiwi story anymore. It's its own particular thing.
Well, working as an editor for so much of the show, does having so much improv and so many different versions of things make your job easier or more difficult?
More difficult, but more rewarding. I think the results speak for themselves. They are quite funny and delightful and often surprising, and we often surprise ourselves on set. But it's a lot more work for sure.
Well, obviously, knowing that six seasons would happen was never guaranteed, but I assume there was a certain point at which you did know this was going to be the end. And I'm curious where that conversation started about how to wrap things up and what your role in it was.
We had a conversation before we went into the final season. So we went in eyes open. And so everything was incredibly poignant. I'm there for the entire season as a producer and director. And it was everything was like, this is the last time we're in this room, or the last time we're wearing this costume, or using this particular guest star. And it was quite emotional, I have to say. Like we were frequently almost crying, but with affection. Like it wasn't desperately sad. It was just very nostalgic and full. Like we were, and I think everybody, we always got along, but I think we got along even better. Like it was just knowing that we would never be together with these particular people and this particular tea made everything very emotional. Yeah.
Obviously, the ending is multifaceted and creative. Was that like the first try? Was that many tries just sort of mashed together?
Well, I mean, the ending, the actual finale, was a meditation on endings, which I think was such a rich area. And of course, we were tackling four very different kinds of odes to things that I love. So we were doing the Salesman documentary, the Maisels Brothers, which we shot on real film, and also the Newhart finale, which we also shot on film, and then Rosemary's Baby and Usual Suspects, all of which required a completely different style, costumes, production, everything had to be completely reinvented and weren't within the palette of our show. And so it was a tremendous amount of work. So we only got one additional shooting day for this finale, even with all the shooting of film and these very meticulously planned shot by shot remakes of these classic films and endings. And so because of that, we ended up doing some very full days of the material that wasn't that. So we had one day that was a 16-page day of just in the house. And I think that was only possible because we'd been doing it for 6 seasons and everybody knew exactly, what their thing was. And you could take that cast and go, fuck it, we're doing 16 pages. And they nailed it. And it was, it was a very long, very full day, but it created more space for the things that were new and challenging for us in different ways. Yeah.
Well, I imagine that a lot of the actors, especially in the US, there, a lot of their roles after this will be driven by what people, they know them from this. Do you think that there's a chance of this world being revisited, or is this really the nail in the coffin? Feels like an appropriate term, right?
I mean, never say never. There's so much love for the characters in the world, and I imagine like some, maybe not tomorrow. I think everybody felt good about it ending when it ended. Like it was bittersweet, and we had such an incredible ride, but we also felt like creatively very fulfilled with what we had done. So I think it might take a minute before everyone wants to do something again, and it might not be absolutely every element. But I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some kind of, the Baron gets his own show.
Or the guide.
The guy, yeah, I want to see her adventures for sure.
Well, do you know what's next for you?
I've been juggling a bunch of different things. I just came off of doing the new Office spinoff. And I'm about to work on this show called The Burbs, which Mark Pruksch, our Colin Robinson, is also on. So he's the first cast member that I'm going to be working with again, and I'm really happy to see him. And cooking up a bunch of things of my own. So stay tuned, I guess. Watch this space.
Do you feel like for the Office spinoff, your mockumentary specialty was helpful?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can direct mockumentary and I don't even need a script. I'm ready to go. Yes.
Well, in reviewing some of your credits, I was happy to see that you actually worked on another mockumentary series that I only wish had the fandom of What We Do in the Shadows. I must admit it did not, and that's Trial and Error,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is I quote that show, I think, much more often than I should for how few episodes there were on the air, but I just feel like I'm not really sure. I think that should have tapped right into like the Parks and Rec office like enthusiasm and just something I don't know what it was, but it is brilliant.
Thank you. That was my first outing as a director, also, and I love everyone involved in that show. The producing director on that show was the first director I worked with as an editor, also, and it was very clever. You're right; it should have gotten more seasons. So,
I had a lovely talk with Kristen Chenoweth about it recently because it was like it had a John Lithgow, like it didn't have small names in it, but there's so much out there. What do you like to watch?
I'm a comedy fan. I'm a comedy nerd. But I particularly like British flavored things, so I tend to watch a lot of their shows and kind of go into deeper cuts of things that came out decades ago. But I'm also a bit of a garbage can. I'll watch anything if it's good. Like, I mean, not a
What are
garbage can. I should say a connoisseur.
what are some of those older shows that you've discovered? Anything that someone people should really check out?
I love the original Peep Show in the UK. What else have I been watching? There's some new things. Stafford's Flats, if you haven't seen it, is marvelous and features one of our cast members, Natasha, and her brother, who are both so funny. And I've been, of course, very steeped in everything Matt Berry, and I have also quite enjoyed the Alan Partridge. Oofa, like check it out if you haven't seen it. If you're missing Shadows and you want something to make you laugh, go watch Partridge.
You said What We Do in the Shadows sort of like came away from just being like a Kiwi thing, and I think it obviously like some of these accents are just not even close to like they can't be distinguished anywhere or something, but there definitely is like a New Zealand flavor to it. Do you feel like in working with these collaborators from New Zealand and then watching all this British stuff and working on American TV, do you feel like there's really something separating everything, or is all sort of overflowing in a little bit and interacting?
It's interesting. I feel like Kiwi comedy and British comedy are quite close in their deadpan sensibility, and I am a Russian immigrant, which means that I have a highly overdeveloped sense of deadpan. And cynical humor. I like things that can bite a little bit when they make you laugh. And that was my connection to Taika almost immediately, is that we had a comedy language in common, which was very dry, and we don't like things that are schlocky, but we do like things that have heart. So that's a kind of fine tightrope to walk. And we always just kind of made things that made us laugh. I'm always surprised that anybody watches What We Do in the Shadows, because it is such a specific sense of humor and tone, that maybe isn't 100% mainstream, but it's delightful that other people find it funny.
I totally agree, and maybe we can find Trial and Error streaming somewhere, and that's the
Trial and
next
Error is
big
great
thing.
too. Yeah.
It's dead in the water, but there's a lot of good stuff out there that already got made. So thank you so much, Yana. It was a pleasure. I look forward to seeing everything you do next.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.